guys, welcome back. So, what's my purpose on gaming? What's my purpose on collecting? Let's take a look. The memories. The memories is what really drives me into gaming, into collecting. I'm not a collector. I'm a fan of gaming. I'm a true fan. I want to try everything that was out. Memories such as these. Ocean Software, one of the greatest companies ever on the history of gaming. This was my go-to company in what ZX Spectrum and Amiga games were concerned, because I was always hanging around arcades. And as you know, Ocean Software was responsible for the tons and practically the best conversions of arcades to home systems, to home computers of back in the day. The Amiga, the ZX Spectrum, the Amstrad CPC, the Commodore 64. Ocean Software was the masters on converting everything to home systems. Home systems, when I say home systems, I mean home computers, because the console side of things was slightly different. And I grew up with home computers and not with consoles. I played on consoles over at friends' houses. My first console, my very own first console that I purchased was the Mega Drive 2 in the 90s, in early 90s. And yeah, I played on the Master System, I played on the NES, but always over at friends' houses. And those memories are so thin and slim, because I was into computers and not into consoles back in the 80s. So I've traveled through all these generations of systems, of video game systems, since the early 80s, since the ZX Spectrum 48K, my very first experience on a home system, on a home video game system. So I've messed around with the ZX Spectrum, with the Commodore 64, with the Amiga, with the MS-DOS. MS-DOS was another huge thing to me back in late 80s and early 90s, and it really took off with my IBM PS1 486 DX2 66 MHz that I purchased in the end of in September of 1993. Man, playing Doom 2 and a ton other games that were coming out by that time. Man, it was incredible. Even with the sound coming from the PC speaker, it was incredible. It was amazing times. The early 90s with all those point-and-click adventure games. Man, so nostalgic, so many memories, and that's the memories that I want to share with you all in my channel. Stuff that really meant something to me back in those days. And that's my purpose in gaming, that's my purpose in collecting. But I don't consider myself a collector. I only collect memories, you know? I only collect those games that really left a huge mark in my gaming life back in those days. Even in relation to more modern stuff, I only collect things that I'm interested in. Like, for instance, what's the purpose on having every version of Baja Edge of Control that was ever released? What's the purpose? Man, to many of you, there's no purpose at all. But for me, this game, Baja, firstly on the Xbox 360, really left that nostalgic feeling and emotional feeling, because it was when my kid was born that I started playing this game, Baja Edge of Control. So I simply needed to have also the PlayStation 3 version that is horrible, and then the PS4 version, incredible version, and obviously the highlight of all these of this game, the highlight is really in the PC version. It's the best version of them all. So, man, for me, this game really means something, and it has a meaning for being here in my collection, even that I don't call it a collection. It's my games, the games that I love to play. It's not a collection, it's my memories. These are made of memories. So as I said, my first experience on a home video game system was on the ZX Spectrum. Man, where I played, for instance, Enduro Racer. What an amazing conversion from the arcades, not from Ocean Software. So as you know, I'm a huge fan of racing games since the ZX Spectrum days, where racing games were so simplistic, but it was the way that we had back in those days to experience racing on a video game system. And most of my memories comes from those days, those early 80s days on my ZX Spectrum. And that's one of my main focus on the channel is the ZX Spectrum, the Amiga. These were the systems that really left all those memories, most of my gaming memories. A game that left some memories back from those days, a PC game that really left a memory. The game isn't that good, but this game left Fade to Black, the sequel to Flashback, left a memory, because I only kept the disc and got rid of the box and of the manual. I only cared about the CD to play the game, and man, that was the memory that Fade to Black left. That's my purpose. I wanna grab the box and the manual, if possible, of Fade to Black. Also, during the late 90s, I was into music and I was a drummer on a very heavy metal band, so I got rid also of many games that I had in my collection, mostly Mega Drive games and Amiga games, big box games, and PC stuff also, and I sold them to get stuff for my drum kit. Yeah. Obviously that modern gaming will also leave memories that I will revisit later down the road. Stuff like, for instance, BioShock. These are classics that will be remembered later down the road by many gamers of today. And just like stuff we make nowadays in relation to the ZX Spectrum, in relation to the Amiga, to the Mega Drive, to the Super Nintendo, to all those old systems from the past. These, the PS3, the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 4 will also be remembered later down the road, 30 years from now. And people will remember games like, for instance, Batman Arkham Asylum, Batman Arkham City. All these games will be remembered later down the road by gamers of today, 30 years from now. Probably I won't be here to talk about those games, because I will be too old for that, sadly. But games like Grid Autosport, these will be remembered later down the road. Man, Dark Souls will be remembered as one of the toughest video games ever made. Even if many games on the ZX Spectrum are harder than Dark Souls, okay? And that's what you've always been getting in It's a Pixel Thing. It's memories, gaming experiences, personal stuff, personal feelings, personal experiences with all those systems from the 80s, from the 90s, from the 2000s, and even stuff that is being made nowadays. Stuff that I can relate, and stuff that really means something to me. That's what you've always been getting in this channel, and that's what you will always get in It's a Pixel Thing. So guys, thank you very much for watching this video, this ramble video, in where I've talked about my motivations in collecting, in my personal vision of collecting, of a video game collection. Memories is what drives me into these things, in collecting, in grabbing certain items for my personal room, for my man cave. Things that really means something to me. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all in my next video. Cheers!